probably get more. I can keep going, including we have the French, they like to do their own thing, so they need their own cover, so that's the French cover of the book. I actually brought over here, you guys can look at, here is that's the French version of Sky's End, and then we have the Spanish version. Portuguese just came out in September. I don't have the copies yet. Then I also brought here early copies, which is one of those advanced copies. I want to tell you about the not so fun things that happened before all the exciting things, which was trying to get really difficult. And my first mistake was deciding to choose traditional publishing. And getting traditionally published is almost like winning the lottery. That means like you get like a Penguin Random House, you get a Macmillan, you get Simon & Schuster, Scholastic, some big publisher who pays you money for your book, and then they go and put it in bookstores. It's really difficult to convince somebody to want to pay you for your book and then put it in the bookstore, put it in libraries, and maybe out send blind places and things like that. So I decided to do that. It's really difficult rather than doing self-publishing. And if you want to get published, this means that you need a literary agent. It's not like a realtor. It's not like you can just like walk in and be like, "Yo, I'll hire you," and then they're gonna go and sell you a house or something, right? Like they have all the power, and you have to convince them to want to read your book. And so you have to send them out like these really awesome pitch letters that tells them, "This is what my book's about. Do you want to read it?" And they'll usually say no, and then so you have to deal with this thing of rejection. I sent my very first letter out to a literary agent all the way back in December 26th, 2011. I actually went and looked it up. But I remembered it because it was Boxing Day. It was the day after Christmas. My dad's Canadian, so I remember Boxing Day. So, I sent it out, and I got a rejection about 90 minutes later after I went to Poundburger. Felt great. Okay. I got rejected so many times, you guys. I wrote 5 books. Guess what happened to all of them? Rejected. Yep, they were all rejected. Guess how many rejections I got over my journey before I got an agent? It took me 9 years to get an agent. How many do you think?
Probably 100.
More than that.
237.
More than that.
238.
More.
300.
500?
500. Roughly 500. Now, not every single agent actually bothered to send me a letter. Some of them don't even bother. They just say, like on their website, they say, if I don't respond in a month, then just consider it as a pass. So probably about 200 of those were just no responses, and then about 300 were like, "Dear author." I actually got called, like, sometimes they called me Greg. "Dear Greg." "Dear March." I got March once. That was interesting. Okay. And I think I got like Anna once. I think they might have mixed me up with somebody else, and then I was just like, all right, whatever. Okay, so I got rejected about 500 times over all of my books. And then I had this rejection that was really stinging. It was this major agent, super successful, and I thought it was going to happen. I did a revision for her, and that's like a really golden opportunity. You do a revision for them. That means they're really interested. They want to see if they want to potentially offer you. And she turned me down. And I worked on it for like 3 months, working on this revision for her. But a few weeks after that rejection, this is right as like we were all moved into the pandemic. We were all moved into the pandemic. And it's so funny seeing guys students like, "Oh my gosh, I know you." Okay. During the pandemic, I got an email from my agent at midnight, and she wanted to set up the call. Just like the call. You know, and like authors always use it in like this revered term. You know, it's something you're all aspiring to. And generally when you get a call, that means that they want to offer you, and they want to take your books on, and they want to try to share them with publishers and see if people are interested. And so she was really interested in my book. She was interested in Sky's End, and she was also interested in my next book after that, which was called Behind the Glass. And I'll tell you guys a little secret about Behind the Glass in a little bit. Okay. So with Sky's End, we actually went out with Behind the Glass first because we felt like that was in better shape. And so I had to go do revisions for Sky's End. And she sent me this edit letter. Guess how long her edit letter was? How many pages the edit letter was? More than 10. That's way too much for me. I'd die. I would never be able to do it. More. A little more.
33.
Little lower. 30. 30-page edit letter. And she was like pretty rough, like pretty harsh. Like she even like at the end of it, she said, Conrad is a selfish jerk. So I actually had to rewrite the beginning of the book. And that was, you know, when you see, if you read chapter 3, you know what happens to Conrad's mom. That wasn't in the original version. And that was one of the things I added in. And that changed him, because the cruel irony of the book is that when his mom, what happens to his mom, she ends up being with him more than she would have been otherwise. Okay, because she's part of it, she's in his head. So I rewrote the ending as well, which was 100 pages. And I changed the whole thing because it used to be past tense, okay, and I turned it into present tense. So like, instead of walked, it became walk. So he's doing things. You're in the middle of the action as he's doing it. He's leaping off the Gladian to go take down that Gorganton by himself. You're in it right as it's happening. Okay? I sent her my revision, and guess what she said? Much better. Let's revise some more. So I spent another 2 months revising the book, and then she read it in July. I was like, does she even like it? I don't even know if she likes this book. And then she actually came into town, and we had lunch together. And that was the first time I realized my agent actually really likes my book. She told me, it was very interesting. There's that disconnect between emails sometimes. So finally in August of 2021, Sky's End went out to publishers. It was super exciting. She told me it's going to be hard, it might take us years, but we're going to fight for this. And so we sent it out, and this was at the height of the pandemic, and so publishers were incredibly slow. Like a lot of them were working from home, a lot of them were in New York, and they have families, and so they had a lot of responsibility, so it made things slower than normal. And Sky's End actually sold really quick relative to the standards back then. It sold in 5 months. The publisher was the second one on our list offered on it. And I was actually in the middle of teaching my 7th graders. And I got an email. And I said, oh my gosh! My students looked back at me. And then I started crying. And then as they're looking back at me and I start crying, one kid goes, it's okay, Mr. Gregson. I think they thought that somebody in the room like had said something really mean to me, like he's bald or something like that. But then I told them, because I walked to the front of the room, I was like, oh my gosh, and I walked to the front of the room and I told them, and then they just erupted. They all started screaming, can I tell my mom? I got that email. This was the email she sent to me. Received an offer from Jonah at Peachtree for Sky's End. Congratulations. It was like amazing. It was like the best feeling in the world. And it's so weird when you like, I wonder if this is what it's like for people when they like climb Mount Everest, when they get up there and it's just like, now what? You know, like I went home and I was celebrating and I went and sat on my back porch. And it was just like, it wasn't like there was like trumpets or something, and people were out there, and like there was this big celebration. It was like there was like neighbors' dogs barking, you know, the wind's blowing. But it was something I fought for forever, so it meant so much to me. I want to share one other day that changed my life too, because this is really what got so much interest in my book. It's really hard to stand out. So even if you get published, the next thing is how do you tell people about your book? How do you tell people that it exists? And I was talking through ideas with my publisher, and I was like, well, what if we do a cover reveal with my students? And they're like, well, what if you do a cover reveal where you see the book's cover for the first time with your students? And so I was like, this is scary. I don't know what my cover's gonna be like. And I'm gonna go in front of my entire school and I'm going to see it for the first time. And I might be crying, but it's not happy tears. They might be like, oh my gosh, what did they do? You know? Or is it going to be something that's magical and something that like captures what was in my head? And so in May of 2023, I saw the cover with my students. My wife posted that video on Instagram. It went viral. We got 6 million views. We got 1 million likes. We got contacted by like filmmakers all over Hollywood. It was crazy. And then we got all of those pre-orders, and all these people started following me. I had like 200 followers on Instagram. I have 10,000 now. I'm up to 27,000 now on TikTok. I'm up to like almost 19,000 on YouTube. And a lot of it's been thanks to these videos, and people are finding my books. So I actually have the video that I'll show you. And this is the moment when I saw it. So millions of people have seen me cry now. So that's great. Okay. But my wife posted this. Okay, so that was me crying. I did it again last year with Among Serpents, which was earlier last school year. I did that with Among Serpents, and that was crazy because like 2 News was there and they filmed it and they had like me mic'd up and stuff. So that was really nuts. And that one was like, I didn't cry, but I was like, yeah, I was really excited. So Among Serpents has a really cool cover as well. Okay, so that's a bit about my journey, and now we are here. Sky's End is out. The Above the Black trilogy is charging on. We're moving into book 2, Among Serpents, which is coming out January 7th. That is, we have a counter on my classroom wall. I think that's 63 days now until launch. So we're getting there. I will be going on book tour for book 2. My publisher's going to send me to some cities, which is like really crazy to me. I don't know where they're sending me yet. And it's like 2 months away, you need to tell me. But I'm really excited. And I'd love to answer some questions for you guys. If you have questions about publishing, about my book. I don't want to spoil too much with Among Serpents, but I can give you some teasers and things like that as well. So if we want to open this up to questions, I'd be happy to answer some questions for you guys. Yeah?
Is it hard to come up with ideas for books?
Yes. Every time writing a new book project is really challenging. It's also hard because, like, especially when you're writing fantasy, you have to, like, what does a bedroom look like in your fantasy? Like, even that might be different. What kind of food are they eating? And you notice, like, I have some creative swear words in this book. Like, even that, like, how do teenagers talk in this world? Is it different? You know, if they're probably not saying, you know, skibbity toilet or something, right? Okay. Yeah. It's not. I don't want to get in trouble because it does have swear words, and it's like, yeah, there's a character that gets, cut in half. Like, I mean, so I don't have a required reading, but I have probably graded now over 90 book reports on my book, and it's gonna. And now the students that I got this year, most of them already read it, which is really weird because the kids like I'll be like, hey, so tell me about this type of, in the plot diagram, explain, the rising action. The kid's like, well, when Conrad is, and I'm like, gosh, this is very weird. Okay. Yeah.
What inspired this? Like, what made you want to write Sky's End? Like,
Okay.
and the way it's written. Like, why did you decide to go that route?
So one of my process is I like to listen to music, and I was driving in the car, I was on the freeway, and I was listening to just some fantasy music, just something, some sort of instrumental music. And as I was driving, I got this image in my head, and it was a floating island that was in the sky. And then around it was almost like a beehive, because there were all these little ships that were buzzing around this island. And then suddenly the island fell. And when that happened, I was like, whoo, why? And so then that's really what set it for me. I would say that there's other things, there's callbacks, like if you've played The Legend of Zelda, there's some callbacks and such that are in there, but that was where the first idea came from.
Who did you base your characters off of? Did you have any people that you based off your characters off?
I like to use archetypes, so they're common characters that you see in fiction, but then I like to subvert expectations. So Pound seems initially like he's just going to be the big goalie. But then you find out, whoa, he can cook. Yeah.
What made you decide to like go with ruthless main character instead of like the forgiving, like let's keep this?
Oh, okay, that's a good question. So, the meritocracy. In that society where it's like there's only winners and losers. Lack of compassion. So I really wanted to explore what it would do to young people and what they would be like in that kind of situation. And Conrad's really combating this idea of being merciful and compassionate to others, and then also fighting simultaneously the ruthlessness of his meritocracy, what his father represents. So yeah, that's kind of where that came from.
How many titles did you come up with before this one?
3. So actually, the interesting thing is that I used all 3 of those titles for the trilogy now. So at one point, this was called Downfall. Because of the events at the end of the book, this was originally called Downfall. Now the final book in the trilogy is called Downfall. It was at one point, it was Sky's End, subtitled Among Serpents. Now the sequel is Among Serpents. And then Sky's End was actually the third idea that I came up with, and that's the one we went with. The publisher loved it. That's always a concern. Sometimes publishers want to change the title, but they loved it too. So it's like, yay.
What hair color is on that house?
Brown. Curly brown hair. I didn't want to do that, like, let me go look at myself in the mirror kind of thing that you see in a lot of books, like, look at my reflection. But he does look at himself in the mirror in the 3rd book, so you can look forward to that.
Why did you decide to write Sebastian the way he is?
Isn't he fun? He's actually one of the most fun characters for me to write, because he's just so, I really like antagonists, villains, and I like them being able to challenge my main character in unique ways. And so Pound, especially in the first half of the book, acts as the big hulking, antagonist, the physical form of that. But then I wanted to have the manipulative form, the one that you maybe underestimate, and you find out how conniving and evil and backstabbing he is. So, yeah, it's fun. And then also, I hope as you were reading, you noticed how the meritocracy affected each of these characters in different ways. And then you see how Pound is the way he is, why Sebastian is the way he is. And Sebastian even tries to tell Conrad that they're the same. They're not, but I guess there are some similarities. Yeah.
Is it hard to write a book about a teenager as an adult?
Is it hard to write one? Yes. Yes, very, very difficult. Especially because I had actually been writing middle grade before, so I was writing like 12-year-old protagonists. And then Sky's End was my first time going up to teenagers. And so I had to do, a lot of reading. It helps that I'm around like weird teenagers all day. So that does help.
Okay,
Yeah.
we've got one more question.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, you can do your question.
Say, then Kieran, yeah.
Is there a love interest?
There is. But don't expect like a romantasy here. Like this is blood and guts, like action-packed, nonstop, like roller coaster ride. But there is some, and it will progress as the series goes on. Okay? But it's not as big of a focus in book 1. It's killing monsters and just trying to survive and rising and become captive.
All right,
Okay.
very last question.
Okay, Kieran.
Okay, how did you overcome writer's block?
Ooh. Writer's block is awful. Oftentimes for me, when I have writer's block, it's because I've recognized that there's a problem in the past, somewhere earlier in the book that needs to be fixed. So I actually kind of do like a process of spiral writing, where like you think about like a spiral notebook, where I go forward and then I go back a little bit, and then I go forward and then back a little bit, and I keep doing that all the way until I get to the end. Does that make sense?
Excellent. Let's give Mark a round of applause.
we will take a picture with him with us holding up the books that we have. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. Did you want to do a selfie? Did you want me to take it?
Well, maybe we like take it all together. We can bunch in together.
Everyone bunch it! Bunch
Yeah.
it! Yeah. Bunch it in the
Do
middle!
we have my author copy, or is it still being signed?
Right there.
Okay, okay, still being signed. Okay, I will hold up this thing. Jealous of it?
We'll just write them all. Everyone even knows how to read it. We want to do like some of us.
Yeah, maybe some of us kneeling up at the front, and then taller people in the back.
No, he's got me.
I think I found a typo. Somewhere you put Master of Architect.
Okay, she ranted about that for like an entire day. We need the pillars for us to get to. Oh, how you said it? I thought it was hilarious. Okay. We will crop it. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, everyone, we've got to do a picture when we're all really excited. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Okay, before you move, here's what's going on. MARC Gregson will come sign your books. You will need to pick up a red excusal paper if your book is signed after advisory. If you do not have your book, go ahead, head to your next class. But before we leave, let's tell him thank you one more time. This is thank you! All right, thank you so much. I'll have to head on over to the signing tables. Go ahead, grab your books. Beat the book.
Beat it.
Beat the book. There are some books in there.
Grab. Is there a red marker over there? Hot red.
Dude, what time does the bell rings? 40 after, right?
Hey.
So we have 3 minutes. I gotta say hi. You can still say hello. I'm still gonna say hello to my teacher.
Just go. I forgot to bring mine. I forgot it today.
I completely forgot. We're good. We got some pretty Reiki though. Orders like this.
Oh, that's so cute. And then I bet you they're after
Super C-O-O-P-E-R. So this one for you? Okay. Do you just want to just sign it? Do you want to do like 10 rockets or? I see you.
This is not live. This is
It's an organized class, so if you're still understanding what it is.
Okay, Jackson.
That's so good.
Signed in blood red. Nice to meet you. Hi. So you said your name? Do you want Christina or Becky? Becky. K-U-C-K-Y? A what? It's called French chop. Juliet? Juliet. Nice to meet you, Julia. Hi. Is that your name? That's C-L-A.
But it has to be a friend.
It was like, it'd be so weird. It would be like,
I don't know. Well, you gotta figure out what.
Ariana.
Ivy. Ivy what? Ivy. My daughter is Ivy.
like the New York #1
Ivy. Hi. Is that your name?
That's why I'm so happy. Yeah. Always like up here. Wait for me. Yes.
It's a lot. It's good. It's very exciting. What's your name? Joshua. Okay. Just spelled Joshua. Yeah, it's nice to meet you.
Josh, just in case.
Hi. Would you like me to sign for your name?
Sure.
Andrew. A-N-D-R-E-W. Nice to meet you, Andrew. Hey! Would you like me to sign for your name? Oh, perfect. That makes sense. Nice to meet you. Hi. How are you? Dallin. I have a brother named Dallin. It's a good name. Nice to meet you. Esri. I do know Heidi. Yeah, Heidi's a great student. She's in my 8th period. That's so fun. Is she gonna come to Alta too? Chloe. Nice to meet you, Chloe. Hi, how are you? Are you Layla or Lena? There you are, Lena. That's nice. How's high school for you? It's what? It's better. Okay. You get along with your sister or something? Okay. It's good to see you. Hi. Is it Ada? Just Ada?
Mr. Gregson, stop by to say hi.
Oh, hey, it's good to see you.
Have a nice day.
You too. Just, yeah, okay, perfect. That way. You make sure it's
Well, yeah, we'll make it.
That's what I was doing earlier. Pull it past
It's spinning.
And I always paragraph in the whole
Thank you, thank you. You see the dedication for Among Serpents. This is my children. You see that?
that's
Nice to meet you.
No, I swear.
I saw that you started like poetry or like any other form of
I have dabbled with some short stories and screenplays, but generally I'd like to stay with novels.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Oh, my friend, you need to know, just in case for your second period. Thank you for gonna need those.
Maybe we should sign up.
Take these.
See you.
As
Nice
next.
to meet you.
I get tired That's basically other than that. When it's overcast, when it's
It's nice to meet you, Lucy. Hi.
Hi.
Oh my goodness. How are you doing? It was very funny when I'm looking out and I'm like, I know that person. You know, there were a couple in there, and some of you look so different. Who else said Oh, yeah. What is good? Well, what is good is my book. Life is good. Life is good. I'm glad you like that. You want to come back to ELA?
I don't like LA.
I'm sorry. Good to see you. It's nice to meet you, Catherine. Lucy, did I teach you?
I'll give us,
These No? Okay. I had a Lucy, and you look like the Lucy I had. It was so many years ago.
oh, here, let me give you your Nolly.
Is that Yura?
These are excusal slips of
Gave
for my
her. Okay, oh, that's a V. Okay. It's nice to meet you.
That was one of my favorite. Yes, I was. Yes.
Isn't that cool? I was like, my publisher told me that there was going to be a secret.
I know.
And because I opened art covers with my students in the library, and I pulled off the flap because I thought it was just going to be like plain white or something. So we're doing that for book 2 as well.
That's so awesome. I'm so excited. Thank you.
E. Hey. Nice to meet you. There you go. You're very welcome. Nice.
Hello.
Maddie. It's nice to meet you, Maddie.
Thank you. Maddie.
So my friend
Oh, okay. Jane, hi Jane. Nice to meet you. Hi.
Everyone's turning this way.
It's Wednesday. We're halfway through the week. That means we're closer to the weekend, right? Is it Isha? Oh, I'm glad you liked it so much. It's so nice.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Luke. Nice to meet you, Luke. Thank you. I hope you like the characters and the gladiator. I really like the gladiator. Nice to meet you. Molly. Hi, Molly. Absolutely. Anywhere you want. Oh, you already signed it. Gabe? Your grandma worked there? Oh, in Alpha? Oh, cool. She teach me how to yell? Oh, cool. Yeah. That's so cool. Nice to meet you, Gabe. Hello. Busy. Nice to meet you, Lizzie.
Sorry, my name's also Lizzie, so I keep being like me.
Oh!
Okay, so I was hoping to sign right for one of your old kids. Brown hair, grandkid.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
You want me to sign it to Cooper as well?
Yeah, just this paper.
Oh, just that paper.
Yeah,
Okay,
he
but this one
doesn't-
for.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lizzie.
Oh yeah, for me.
This is the best thing I've liked.
Okay, and then this
When
one's
am I
for.
positive?
That's a good one.
Yeah, he's just gonna cut it out.
Yep, thank you.
Nice to meet you, Lizzie. Hi. It's going pretty well. Is it Nimco? I like it.
That's actually a good policy.
He's going to the airport tomorrow, and the airport is a magical place.
Nice to meet you.
The airport is just like
Crystal?
Thank you so much for coming.
Landing, because that's hard. Being on the plane is like really boring. Like,
But like the anticipation of getting on the plane and like just sitting in the airport.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for coming.
Hello. Hi.
Oh,
This is our friend.
Nice to meet you.
I have
Do you want me to sign it to both of you?
on the plane, waiting for the plane to go, like, take off. And horrible. It's humid. It's horrible.
yeah. NHS and art.
Nice to meet you.
Next month I'm excited. I'm excited for next month.
Okay. Okay, so
It could be either.
I like you want to grab the shape with me?
Nice to meet you, Katie.
Hey, thanks so much for coming.
Hello.
I'm so funny. You're so funny.
Have you guys? You
are
exactly. If you remember my name, we nailed.
Hi.
Thank you so much for your time.
Fantasy is the superior genre, and romance is the second superior genre. So when you blend them together, it makes perfect fiction.
What about science?
Okay, science fiction is amazing. Like the TV show.
Maybe you'll forget it.
And science fiction
I'll see ya.
like Cinder,
Ryan.
sci-fi, and science fiction.
I'm
And
doing
that's
good.
really good.
How
And
are
the
you?
story is good. And sci-fi is good. Yeah,
I mean-
science fiction and fantasy run in
Nice to
similar.
meet you.
You can go through.
Okay, thanks so
Hello.
much. You're gonna need this for your next class. We've got one. You're
All
all
of it.
set. Yes, of course.
Pretty common name.
You can actually do this.
Well, I am an English teacher, and I have to
Oh,
read
yeah,
it.
that's fair.
But I usually tell my students, I'm like, if you can't read yourself,
It wasn't me.
nobody else can.
I can read it. Mostly because I know what it says. But it's more remembering.
We
than
should
reading.
get him something from like 3 years ago that he won't.
Oh, really?
The best is when you have a student, it's an open note test.
You wouldn't
can't
even
read your
know
own
what
notes.
That's always
My
good
job
one.
is bringing papers. You're not gonna hurt my
Okay. You're not gonna hurt her.
I do.
Probably
That's
switch
always-
hands.
Especially when they pull up the notes and they're like, here, this is what my teacher had me. I'm like,
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
I lost it.
I started it and immediately I was like, it's good.
We were at
Yeah,
the gym.
because I was like,
She's
read
like,
it,
it's 3
and then I was like, and then I read it because I was
I
reading
put them in
something
my
else.
pocket because she's
And then I read it and I was
like,
like,
I was I took 3 out of my pocket.
I read it, I'm so
Oh no, I just put off reading.
I'm so glad you guys could come.
I'm a cover shopper, so this was great.
Me too.
Hi, how are you, Alyssa? Nice to meet you.
That's because
Oh, I
that's
hope you
not
like
a pet
it.
peeve.
It's very intense.
Okay, let's go get our bags.
It'll build up like that roller coaster, like I said. Once it goes, it doesn't stop. So just gear up for that. Okay?
Like,
Like the sequels, they're like a roller coaster that launches right at the beginning and it never stops. You lose your head. Nice to meet you. Evangeline, I like it. Actually, I'm probably going to have in the new book I'm working on. I have a character. She goes by Emma.
Exactly. My mental health is not saying that.
I had coffee and I almost had it. I'm gonna read it. Thank you.
It's nice to meet you too, Sam.
That's your note.
Yeah, what's
Thank you
up?
so much for coming.
Just by being around.
I mean, some of it's just pulling, you know, from the different things that I really enjoy, like
Now that we're all excited about
Zelda. I also really like Deadly Competition, so like Hunger Games, and then Ender's Game. I was sort of really inspired by that as well.
Like I just sped right through
I
it.
like Zelda with the floating islands kind of thing as well, and so that was one of the inspiration there too.
Yeah. So power through that. No, it's really good. And then it's just so fast.
I just have so many books. She gets so many. She has
Oh,
my
bookshelf is full of books. That sounds like the best problem to
Yes, I
have.
see too.
It just sounds good.
accumulating. I'm like, huh.
These are
These are extras.
so yeah.
Do you want me to just sign no name on them?
And the kids didn't ask, but I would love a preview.
I had to
Yes. When they were like, I can tell you a little bit, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Well, you are going to be dealing with the war, and it is